Ever get stuck in the merry-go-round of those same fights that become a self-perpetuating loop? Someone once told me that most couples have their fights set by the second date, and then for the next 20-something years, they're going to be fighting over and over about the same thing. You left those dishes in the sink again. I'm so freaking tired of picking up your laundry that's sitting on the floor all over the room. Why do you have to spend so much time on social media scrolling away like this? You're late again. You know, the transgression that doesn't want to leave the room. And the political conversation of the day that ends with that sentence, and how can you think about this? How can you think this way? You know, God forbid what the subject even was. But we believe that the topic is what we are actually fighting about. And yet it is not the content, it's the structure. It's the hidden agenda that lies underneath. And my old teacher, Howard Markman, once said something very succinct. People fight primarily over three things, three types of fights. We fight over power and control. Who makes the decisions? Who has the power? Whose priorities matters more? Who gets to say I when the other person then has to say we? We fight over care and closeness. We fight over trust. Can I trust you? Do you have my back? Do you live with my best interests in mind? Am I held by you? And we fight over respect and recognition. Do you value me? What is the integrity here? Underneath most of our fights lies one of these three hidden agendas: needs, expectations, longings, hopes. And so when you start to lose it, the first thing maybe to ask is, what is it I'm reacting to? Because you're not just reacting to the dishes or to the watch or to the social media or to the lateness. You're reacting to something that you are experiencing internally. So the first thing is to understand your reactivity, not the wrongdoing of the other person. Because another person could do the same thing to you and you would not be jumping. So there is a context, there is a story to the relationship, and there is a belief that precedes how you interpret the other person's behavior that makes you then feel a certain way. Another person did not serve you coffee this morning and made their own cup, but you don't think instantly that they have excluded you and that they don't care and they don't love you. You just think they got distracted. Whereas with your partner, you've decided a long time ago that they don't love you enough, and so every time they don't serve you the coffee as well, it goes right into the box of I'm not loved enough rather than the coffee. But the fight will be about the coffee. That's the interesting thing, right? So how do we get out of the loop? I mean, I've asked myself that question for me. I've been in those loops no less than you, you know. And the first thing is the question about ourselves. What am I reacting to? The second thing is, it's very helpful, again, back to Markman's work of prep, to actually speak from what he calls the XYZ statement. When you leave those dishes in the sink, after I have just spent the whole morning making sure that the kitchen is clean, I feel invisible. When you do X in situation Y, I feel Z. Because then what I'm saying is, I feel invisible, not you are a jerk, you are selfish, you are a slob, you are unaware of the people around you, you. Nobody wants to be defined by somebody else. Nobody wants somebody intruding inside of us to say who we are. But if you say, when you do this, this is what happens to me, then you are inviting me to actually relate to your experience and not to confuse your experience with facts. Much of what we talk about in couples is pseudo-factual talk. You never do this. You always do that. No, my experience is that you do it more than what I would want. That's actually what's going on. But when I make a statement, you never show up on time, I promise you the answer will be the one time that you did show up to prove to me that my never point is actually inaccurate. People, this goes absolutely nowhere. This just goes to a complete impasse of terrible communication. XYZ is very relieving because it's structured, because it's very clear, and it's tedious, and it's challenging, and it's effective. Then it's also about what can I do? Because if you are in the loop, and it's a perpetuating loop, it means that I do something that makes you react generally in exactly the opposite way of what I would want. If I react from the place of, again, you're doing this, you're going to justify. Then I'm going to criticize the fact that all you do is justify. But I will not have noticed that, in fact, I attacked you and I invited the justification myself. Of course, every time you justify, you are not able to relate to what I'm saying about my experience, and so I attack you. And each person in these loops ends up drawing from the other person the very reaction and the very behavior that they actually do not want. That's a real difficult one to swallow, because what it says is that we create the other. And not just that this is who they are, but that we do things that then make them do exactly what we wouldn't want them to do. So if we want them to do something else, it's actually we who need to do something else. If I change, if instead of saying, again you're going out, I in fact say, have a great time, that changes the whole dance. Because now you are expecting already for me to say, again you're going out. And so I half told you where I'm going, because I didn't want to tell you the whole story, because I don't want you to get mad at me. So I half lie, and then you tell me that I lie. Of course you get it. It's each person. If you then surprise the other one, and you do the totally different thing than what you have become known for, change your brand, so to speak, in the relationship, it invites a new script. And what we want is to interrupt the patterns, to break the old script, and to make an opening for a new story inside the relationship. One that is more caring, more trusting, more equal. So one that addresses power, trust, and recognition.